Mutual aid isn't just about giving each other direct aid. It also means repairing our relationships to ourselves and each other, since we've all been shaped by the violence of colonization. The people in power use white supremacy, patriarchy, classism, ableism, and transphobia to stoke division. To stay in power, they need us to be too isolated, traumatized, and burnt out to resist. Strong relationships help us become more free.
What does it mean to heal?
I think a lot of it has been unlearning things that I now know are unhealthy. Stuff like my relationship to like work and productivity, still in the midst of figuring out practices to take its place.
It doesn't mean that like you're done healing from this issue, or sometimes there are like really deep lows from it, but like it means that like you are in a space where things feel like more doable, more tangible.
I feel like a lot of normalcy in society is just dissociation. You can't really heal from something that's still hurting you. And so in order to be able to heal, like actually having that reality be one that we can live in and engage with without wanting to dissociate is like an act of healing. And so in order for me to heal, I do have to heal and work on healing for the collective around me.
In our previous chapters, we talked about what mutual aid is and how communities are using it to meet their material needs. Now let's dive deep into how we can bring the value of mutual aid into our relationships. The element of water will show us how to deconstruct the dams that hold us back from one another. Across the chapter, we'll meet projects that are healing by creating safer spaces and defending each other, learning how to handle crises without the police, and navigating power dynamics, burnout, and conflict.
Yeah. Woke up in the morning and I smelled the fresh pollution. Television never tried to show my execution.
Said, who's this? Just a kid from the neighborhood. I've been trying to start a revolution for the greater good.
It's the revolution coming, marching on your street. Always use your voice for the ones who cannot speak.
It's the ones who go to war from the belly of the beast. And I'm coming from the underground, you hear it in my speed. Yeah, bitty bitty boom boom, bitty bitty bang. It's the type of music that my people go and sing. Say bitty bitty boom boom, bitty bitty bang. This the type of music that my people gon' sing.
The way I see it, like the original, I don't want to say sin, but the original like hurt that colonizers did to themselves in Europe was to distance themselves from being in relationship with land and being in relationship with other beings. Human kin, non-human kin, water, land, animals, plants. In the face of violence, there are still practices that involve living with one another in a way that presupposes that we are not one individual being, but that we are only in as much as we are with each other. We are only because we are together. There's no human without land. There's no human without other humans. And there certainly isn't any human without water. That's, to me, is like the like most basic premise of mutual aid is like, I am with. And the only reason I know any of this is because of indigenous thought. These are the people that have been maintaining that kind of relationship and knowledge base around that relationship, you know, like through the 500 years of violence that is colonization.
I mean, we got to start from the beginning, right, that we're on stolen land. And then we got to start from the beginning, right, that there are existing relationships that affirm that theft and that affirm that ongoing genocide onto this land. You have to ask yourself, you know, like, how am I complicit? And also, how am I taking part of this? And also, what is my position in it, right?
It's unfortunate that these are the conditions that we're living in terms of capitalism really draining our people and also conforming us into this like fast-paced society where you're disposable
Like working in community here, we all come from trauma. We all have stories of trauma because we're basically navigating a post-apocalyptic world where our entire world was disrupted and destroyed.
And a lot of the families here suffer from a lot of different intergenerational traumas and also unhealthy family dynamics to even like trauma in general from what have you. It's just a lot of violence. Even though we have peacemaking programs here on the Navajo Nation through like family courts or court orders, that's not how peacemaking was intended to be. My peacemaking is the net peacemaking. And we have our own values and beliefs and everything incorporated with that. We try to get to the bottom of what it is that is the problem.
The way that humans organize themselves under capitalism and in colonization is like through the nuclear family, which is a sort of little baby state where the patriarch is the head of state and then the mom is like the Congress or something or some sort of enforcer and the children are like the proletariat who have like no rights, and that state reproduces a bunch of other little states, and you know all the houses are made to like shape that, and all of the streets are made around that shape, and most relationships are either within that little baby state or they're transactional or professional. The kind of relationships that unfurl from a mutualistic ethics are relationships that are more expansive, where there's significantly less hierarchy involved in like a household, where there's like a bunch more people that are capable of supporting each other.
The only way to break through isolation is by being with each other. But for some of us, that's easier said than done. Trans and queer people, migrants, and unhoused folks are attacked on a regular basis just for existing. So what does it mean to create safer spaces where we can defend each other?
We are the rebellious. We are the reincarnation of defiance. We are the rebellious. We are the reincarnation of defiance. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are. So what the fuck we waiting for?
Oh my God, look at that. Where? Oh,
it's just so normalized to hear about trans death and trans violence, but what you don't hear is of people fighting back or people winning. It's always a story, the narrative is oppression and death, and I was like, how can we change this narrative? Let's get a gun and put it in a trans girl's hands and like take a picture and let's see what that does. Not to promote gun culture, but just to literally change a narrative or like start a conversation about what safety looks like.
It was right here, like, I was just like, what did I do? I was like on the floor, I was like doing like something like this, like, or something like that. We are all we have sometimes. I mean, most of the time. And so we're like, how do we arm our community? How do we arm them with like the knowledge and the information and the know-how to send for ourselves, you know? Right.
So Arm the Girls is a movement that incorporates fashion, incorporates self-defense, and it incorporates mutual aid in the ways of community organizing and giving back to the community.
And giving back to ourselves through healing empowerment. We raise money, we give out free money to criminal aliens, to prostitutes, and people that y'all hate mostly. Exactly. No, it's true.
It's true.
Because like it's funny because it's easier to say it in the hateful terms. And this is why people don't want to fund us. Resources don't exist for us to like have self-defense classes for poor people who are marginalized. We have to do it ourselves. Safe spaces don't really exist for our community that aren't exploitive or extractive or performative, so we have to like do it ourselves.
Before I start my nonsense tonight, rule number 1, if you do not belong to a house, then you should report to our house. Rule number 2, have some fun in this bitch.
We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We have been looking outward for resources, looking for other people to take care of us, looking for handouts when we are really the ones that we've been waiting for. When we come together and we band together, we can do anything. When I first heard about Arm the Girls, I really think it was like the tasers and the Telfar bags, right? They were giving out these safety kits, and it was really out of a need for the girls needing safety. And so for that to be provided to the girls in such a chic way was like really something that I wanted to be a part of. Here in the Bay Area, girls are attacked all the time. To have something like that that's free, like you have to just show up and be who you are to have access to this was like really important, where you don't have to come with all of these different masks on. You don't have to be looking over your shoulders and wonder if someone's judging you, like if you could be here. And so having spaces that are specifically for us, it does allow for healing. It allows for you to connect with people that are like you. It allows for you to connect to resources that you may need. It allows for you to come outside of your house.
That's why safety is like space. It's money, or it's financial security versus money, food security, and like feeling sickening.
Feeling cozy, feeling safe, and feeling okay in your own skin, in your own body, to go outside, to go to the corner store and feel safe. Like, a lot of folks don't have that.
Mainstream teaches us that anything that is different is wrong. And so being trans, people look at it as being wrong. Showing up in these spaces, whether they're safe spaces that are created for us, or us being in a space like this that is not necessarily a safe space, but I feel safe being here. I think that it just goes against all of that stuff that we were taught. It goes against white supremacy. It goes against everything that we were taught to believe against about ourselves. Like I remember, like, I grew up in the streets of Oakland. I remember like being a sex worker, and I was attacked one time, and then I didn't want to go anywhere. It was like this fear that came over me, and it was like, how am I going to protect myself? That was something that happened to me when I was like 16. But to know that now we have these programs that are setting folks up for success. Like, there are young people that are able to like get these resources or know about these resources or just get the education, which is like really important, like super important, you know.
There's gonna be a video.
Thank you so much, Arm the Girls. And we are the ones we've been waiting for, bringing safety to our community. Arm the Girls. Arm the Girls.
You want the weight of your body on the balls of your feet, not on the back. The temptation when you're holding a big weight out in front of you is to lean back.
Line up, there's legs out on here. So you want to line up these two posts.
Do we get close?
Okay, let's keep that here.
I can't see. Oh wow.
Okay, one more.
The first part of self-defense isn't even physical. It's like a mental, spiritual thing. The first lesson of self-defense is like self-awareness and like listening to your body and your surroundings and being grounded. And what does your posture look like? Do you look weak? Is someone gonna point you out and want to come for you? Just the idea of self-defense being something that's inner, comes from inside, I feel like is really healing in this way, and like holistic, and like not a toxic patriarchal man thing, you know? There's a lot of folks that I've heard just like the noise of a stun gun is enough to deter someone who's like trying to come to them.
The circles are where the most effective places to use it. So the head, neck, armpit, stomach, and groin.
This is right. Flash it in their eye. Go 1 and 2. This is called a tactical flashlight. If you look, it's bevel on the top. Its purpose is to hit people.
In all of these programs, there's the element of empowerment. right? And so I don't have to be oppressed. Like, they can tell me that I'm oppressed, but I don't feel oppressed. I'm like, do I look oppressed? And so when you have people that feel safe, when trans people feel safe and are thriving, you're gonna see, you see more of us everywhere.
That's like where healing comes in. I think the more peace of mind you have, like from day to day, like the more ready you are to take on the world, I think.
When we build up empowered, connected communities, we're in a better position to handle harm and conflict ourselves without relying on violent police and court systems. It takes effort to learn the skills we need to do this work. Some communities are creating intentional spaces where they practice mediating low-stakes conflict with each other. Others are learning de-escalation skills to support mental health crises and domestic violence situations.
Have you ever responded to a crisis that would otherwise involve the police?
You know, I actually will not get into the nitty-gritty of what I have done that has not involved the cops, but I will say that it doesn't always feel awesome. I have done a lot of things that I know would not have been improved if the state had been involved, like the outcome would not be better, but then at the same time, I'm up late at night for like days, weeks, months after thinking about if I did the right thing or not. You know what I mean? I just have to remind myself that like I was not raised to live my life this way. We're all like indoctrinated into this thing where it's like, oh, if this is going on, don't try to handle it yourself, just call the cops. You know what I mean? Like we're raised and indoctrinated with that kind of propaganda to think that way, so that way we never get free from the state because we don't want to trust ourselves.
I've only had one of the years I've been doing this. It was like I need someone to help me get out of here and to help me go somewhere safe type thing. And I'm like, okay. The first thing I did ask was, did you contact the police? And they said no, because it would escalate the situation and it would become unsafe for them. I actually did not really physically go out there, but I was more of a on phone, talk you through it. Come on, let's put our heads together because we got to get you and those babies out of there. So I ended up helping them connect with the neighbor, because it's like she was sneaking on the phone while he was either in the bathroom or the shower doing something. So I was like, okay, quickly give me your neighbor's phone number. And so she would text me all that information, and I reached out to the neighbors. I'm like, hey, your neighbor is in trouble and they need your help. Are you willing to step up and help them? The one neighbor was like, that's not my business and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, well, you know what? I appreciate your time. And I also hope that one day when something like this happens and you need help, I really hope that they help you, you know, and not turn away for selfish reasons like you just did. And then the other lady that I called, her other neighbor, she was like, absolutely. She was like, my husband's on his way home. Are they going to be okay? Because if not, I'll go. I said, I don't want you going over there by yourself. So she waited for her husband, and they both went over there. Like, hey, we just got a whole bunch of clothes. Can you guys come over just for a few minutes so we can try them on to see if the kids can fit them? And that's how they got them out and got her connected with Safe House. And that's the only time I've been approached with something like that. But now if I would get approached with the same situation, I would be more quick to giving them tools to get them out.
That's where we have to be thinking critically about, like, okay, what do we do about violence in our communities, and how does that look with transformative and restorative justices and like with kinship?
We've had stories of like what we would do to rapists or to people that have caused harm in our communities, and due to like Indian acts and laws that really outlawed that type of autonomy we had when handling shit in our own hands was taken and stripped away from us. When we had like collective processes of handling accountability, I saw that we were respecting like a lot of autonomy and community to say what was healthy and what was not. The net philosophies and teachings, they say, if you have a problem, it's my problem too. Your problem is my problem. There's that reciprocal understanding and responsibility. As a peacemaker, you're not there to be a judge. You're not there to be judging people. You're there to listen to people and help people work out their own problems on their own. You don't meddle into this is right or wrong. What you're doing is you're looking at the problem and analyzing it as if it was like a sickness. We're interpreting our own laws and taking and regaining the basest understanding of like sovereignty into us. Like whatever we have for the Navajo courts and the Navajo judicial system, it's been conflicting because the limitations that it's been given due to the United States and how it regulates tribal governments.
Communities have been responding to one another in crisis long before police even existed, particularly Native communities, Black and Brown communities that have never felt safe from police because police were created as slave catchers. The fact that cities put more money into policing than mental health care, than schools, than parks, and then in the environment, it really shows what the goal of the state is. Police are not trained to protect people. They're trained to defend and protect property. They're also taught to protect themselves first.
What is the most important thing we got to take care of when we first get any scene? Officer and scene safety.
The fact that they're building all of these training institutes to further emphasize how to kill people, how to protect property.
Look in the mirror and ask yourself, can I kill a kid? Can I shoot a grandma? Can I shoot a mom? Can I shoot a dad? Can I shoot a brother?
On the ground or I'm going to shoot you.
Not how to protect people, not how to bring people the care they need, and that the state is pouring millions of dollars into these systems.
Tens of thousands of AI-powered cameras across the country.
The cameras are license plate readers.
Flock's solar-powered cameras use artificial intelligence to detect the make, model, and color of every car that passes by.
In a fishbowl of police GPS trackers, encrypted phone cracking software, aerial drone cameras, the Amazon Ring doorbell program that allows police to use our doorbells as cameras.
And even into this technology that supposedly makes sure that police are documented when they're doing whatever they're doing. All of this technology hasn't resulted in an increase of safety, especially in Black, brown, and queer communities. It's not that because we have no police, it means that we'll have no conflict. We'll always have conflict, but we're gonna need better ways to approach it. We're gonna need better ways to deal with it. And we're also gonna need to be able to learn from it and heal from it. Since 2020, we've really seen community-based crisis response grow out of learnings from Rose City Cop Watch and Sister to Sister and the transformative justice models that Native communities introduced to us, really into community-based crisis response teams. Community-based crisis response teams are those organic teams that have come out of people wanting a way to respond to people in their hyper-local community. So not necessarily a citywide crisis team, but perhaps it covers a block or 2 blocks or a small community within a neighborhood. Folks are volunteering and they're either out about their day and they're noticing crises happening, or they have maybe a hotline that they use for the local community where folks can call and learn how they can get access to the resources they need or request help for an emergency.
I just have a question on like what we consider punitive. Because like I feel like my personal belief is like I don't think it's punitive to kick someone out who like punched someone in the face with no, you know what I mean? But it would be punitive to call cops. Do we believe in punitive? Like what is that piece of like accountability?
So punitive action is like, you did this thing, you're gonna feel bad for this thing, I'm gonna punish you for that thing that you did. In this environment and situation, we're also keeping in mind the safety of everybody else involved. And removing that person, while it may feel punitive to them, what we're doing is we're doing it for a different reason. We're doing it to manage the safety of everybody involved.
Sometimes people will feel like, oh, this is some bullshit. And also, like as practitioners that are also abolitionists, it's not centered around whatever this person wants to do. It's about like, how am I like supporting this person to connect to their best self?
The Detroit Safety Team grew out of the Allied Media Conference. Myself and Joe Boachi were asked to coordinate safety for the conference some years ago. And over the course of 3 years, we were able to train about 30 folks in supporting people and navigating conflict and harm for safety for the conference. The last year that we did it, we were doing a debrief. Joy and I were like, what if we could do this all over Detroit? It felt like a whisper into the universe, honestly, because Detroit is huge. Where do we start? What does this mean? Like, we almost didn't make it from a weekend of a conference. We have to rest for a week after that. We're like, okay, well, let's try to figure it out. We want people to be able to have that power for themselves. And so that means having skills. So being able to de-escalate, being able to intervene in a moment of crisis, thinking about protocols, being able to do pod mapping, things like that. And so we started a 2-year fellowship. The first year is a series of trainings. One of the trainings is a de-escalation training so that folks are able to recognize what does escalating behavior look like? And then what are the steps to de-escalating that behavior? And at the base of that being we want to still be in community with one another.
And when we talked in the room about separating people and getting them away from each other, 9 times out of 10, you won't physically have to put your hands on anybody. It can be just that easy if we're utilizing all of those tools, right? Creating that eye contact, turning the other person with your energy, and you're continuing to walk as you're having conversation. We are going to want to partner and walk with people as we're talking to them, right? And if we can get them down.
My name's 1241. I am in the 2024, 2026 fellowship cohort. The first year is delicious trainings, so many beautiful trainings. And then the next year, we will be shadowing people as they facilitate spaces and do certain offerings for the community, as well as planning to offer a space of our own. We have access to past fellows to talk with folks and build community that way, and are also called in to help if there's any sort of events where they need safety team support. So there's more on the grounds training as well. It's a beautiful place to unlearn all the bullshit that keeps us separate from each other, and to be able to dive in and explore this whole world of care that we're blocked off from in the larger capitalist society.
We're going to encounter moments and situations where we're not actively in a place, and we have to get ourselves to a place to be with somebody and to help calm and de-escalate that situation. And our body language actually gets read before anything we say to anybody gets heard, right? Yeah, so the point of the exercise is that
we do a lot of role playing in our trainings of, okay, let's talk about this conflict and these people are working through this thing. How do we hold this space and move through this? I find it each time I'm working through these practices, I'm moving a little smoother. I'm checking, oh, I didn't ask these questions. Oh, this could have been a better question to ask. I'm refining my practice, and I'm refining the ways that I can move through and ground in this space. And I don't think that's something that we get a lot of. And I think that's something that folks, everyone will benefit from, of just practicing through conflict together on low level, low stakes shit, so that it's not our first time when we're in an emergency.
We're committed to making this knowledge as accessible to people as possible. So it's not oh, somebody's getting a gun, let me call this other person. It's oh, someone's getting a gun. I have the tools and the resources within my block for us to support this. Yeah. And redefining safety, we want people to have power over what safety looks like in their community, in their house, in their block, and not us continuously just passing it over to somebody else.
Yeah, outsourcing that. Yeah. So we're working with Eastside Mutual Aid, and they're excited about the training. So that's really dope. They're excited to apply it. That's what the feedback I've gotten so far is the folks are really they feel empowered to. Oh yeah. Yeah. To be in the community in a more informed way and engage folks without feeling your only recourse is to call the police if somebody gets rowdy with you, you know? It's like, same thing with the Dearborn Heights Food Pantry. They're like, we need our community members to know that you don't have to call the police because you got nervous or because you didn't know what to do or because someone got loud or because, you know, and so, yeah, the work works and it's really cool to see that. Folks really need this training and they want it, but the orgs who want it the most don't have any money. Like, they got $2 to rub together.
We're seeing that though communities have been doing this work for so long, now the state is starting to try to copy that work. The state calls a lot of them mobile crisis teams. Mobile crisis teams have copied the models of community-based crisis response teams, but they have the resources of the state to carry that work out. State-based teams usually have a lot of reporting requirements. They are usually subject to surveillance. They can be a problem for folks that are formerly incarcerated and for folks who are undocumented, and just generally for folks who don't want contact with the state. A lot of people try and act like it's some random great idea that mobile crisis teams have started to exist, but mobile crisis teams becoming popular in different cities is a direct result of the organizing that has been done after so many killings of Black and brown, queer and disabled people across the United States. And mobile crisis teams would not exist if it weren't for all of that deep, painful work and trauma that has been experienced.
When we think about like mental health crises and we think about the medical industrial complex and how that's so carceralized and how these people in hospitals are such a vulnerable population, it's really just a chance if people will listen to you. Taking care out of the medical industrial complex that is not designed to keep us well or maintain wellness for us. And in thinking of redefining safety and redefining care, what does that look like on a communal level? What does that look like in the day-to-day of care and navigating wellness when we're the only ones who can save ourselves?
The perspective I'm coming from is that I organize community fridges, so I can be in situations with people who have a lot of need for resources and can sometimes already be coming to the table, not even destructive, just agitated.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's where I'm coming from.
Yep.
Just looking for de-escalation in a way that's also respectful to the fact that it's like you don't have your needs met. Right. I'm not trying to get you down to total green because that's like disrespectful to where you're at.
When we're thinking about safety, it's not just like, oh, we're able to like de-escalate this thing. When you're de-escalating or when you're doing crisis intervention, it's like, well, what got us to this moment? If we're not able to meet the need of like what got us to this moment, then we're just gonna keep hitting the same wall over and over again. The more activists and the more organizers that we have that are thinking about like, okay, what makes us a whole community? The more it like helps in like navigating conflict and harm, because when you have your needs met, you're more likely to like be able to be inside a community and relate to people in a different way, because like you're not hungry, your nervous system is not like erratic and all over the place. You're not operating from a space of scarcity, and you're not nervous about maybe like what someone might take from you that you need.
I would not be alive right now if it were not for mutual aid. So through care potting, through like meal planning and communal meal planning, through shifting of resources, I've been able to survive the past 2 years. Everyone deserves a right to safe health care and not to be punished for trying to survive.
You need that mycelial network of people who are also striving towards the same vision as you. And in an abolitionist vision, I would see hush kiss societies
coming back.
Coming back. And also
peacemaking.
Our peacemaking, our how do you say? And
practicing
not-ids. That's like the number one long-term goal that I see for us as a people. Because not-ids was basically like when we were living as peoples who had autonomy in like their clans and families, but they were also connected like a mycelial network through clans, through regions, through like all these different ways of relating to one another. When something bad was happening, like say the war was coming, like when the Spanish colonizers came, or when the U.S. colonizers came, or famine or drought, things like that, we would always come together and sit down in a hogan through ceremony, and we would talk it out, and we'd be like, okay, what the fuck are we gonna do?
At the root of our work together is our relationships and our inner healing. It's easy to reproduce harmful cultures when we're organizing together, so we have to intentionally break those down. Are we replicating the power dynamics we've learned from white supremacy and patriarchy? Are we burning ourselves out? Or are we taking the time and space to practice healing together? Growing a liberatory world challenges us to find radically different ways of loving ourselves and each other. How do we move into our agency and share power as a form of healing?
I think the commonly understood definition of power is the ability to move around resources or allocate resources to achieve some kind of goal. Those resources can be money, those resources can be people, those resources can be time, but it's the power to accomplish things with resources. When those things are people, then we say someone has power over someone else. They have the ability to tell that person what to do, or control that person, or coerce that person in some sort of way. And when we're talking about power dynamics, we're examining the different power levels that exist between people, whether it's power to or power over, both consciously and unconsciously, based on ways that we've been sort of conditioned. A lot of power comes from social conditioning based on identity. We have been kind of drowning our entire lives in stories of identity that tell us to listen to white people, they're more trustworthy, listen to cis people, they're more trustworthy, ignore disabled people and their needs, things like that, right? Even when there's not directly power over, the same sorts of things happen where people are less comfortable volunteering for things, or less comfortable saying no, or voicing ideas. And in organizing, it's particularly dangerous because strategically, when we don't have a diversity of thought, when we don't have a lot of different options to look through, we are far more likely to fail in whatever goal we're trying to achieve. It isn't the case that all power is bad. If I'm in a room talking about trans healthcare organizing, and the rest of the room has never done it, and I have years of experience doing it, it is reasonable that I have some power from authority based on my own knowledge and experience that is to be trusted.
People that are trying to do something for all of us, and not men and women that belong to a white middle class club, and that's what you all belong to. Revolution now!
How do we not tokenize people? I think this question is pointing out like a very common thing that happens, right? The very common refrains of like, listen to Black women, listen to trans women, where, you know, in times of uncertainty or upheaval, people are platformed solely based on identity and nothing else. When we focus solely on identity exists, then we just move around power and shift power in such a way that the hierarchy still happens. Still power that impacts the ways that people are showing up, and still leaving people uncomfortable in the ways that they can organize or show up. We constantly have to be aware of the power that exists in a space and constantly be questioning and critiquing it. And then when we are aware of the power in a space, we constantly have to be iterating on different ways of negotiating it, different strategies, different decision-making, ways of facilitating or talking or getting information from the room in order to balance out the power that we're noticing.
Audio school?
Chicken 1, chicken 2. Are at the Shed, Casacoat, Centro Organizativo Anarquista Tierra Libertad, or the Shed. Seditious homegirls educating dickheads. That's what it stands for. We do a lot of like print work from out of here. We also have a lot of mutual aid, food and clothing distribution that's called Community Self-Defense Mutual Aid.
So the Ovarian Cycles Bicycle Brigade was founded in 2010 as a response to the misogyny and cis heteropatriarchy that a lot of us found in the streets. We came together and used the bicycle as a form of resistance and as a way of building community. Folks would meet during the full moon and we would ride our bicycles to different parts of the community to address issues that were happening.
Whether it was the killing of a femme in the community or ICE issues, every ride had a certain theme.
A lot has changed in the past 11 years. I think the ovarian cycles now, it's more of the origin story. We don't call ourselves the ovarian cycles anymore. The name was causing a lot of people to feel like it wasn't a space for them. Like they felt like you have to have ovaries to be able to come into the bike rides. And we realized that we had to keep reflecting the ways that we were replicating toxic dynamics and not honoring our ancestral roots, which like there is no such thing as the gender binary.
Back then, we made it our obligation to be, I don't know, community saviors or something like that. And then that sucked. It was very draining. It was almost dehumanizing to a certain degree, you know, because you had to think about everybody else but yourself, you know. Not that you had to, but it was just like that type of culture, that type of environment. We failed to see that we are part of we are the community as well, right?
Now we go by the OVAS, which stands for One Very Angry Squad.
It's almost like a new chapter because in these 11 years that we've been organizing, it's the first time that we're centering our needs and coming from a place of, you know, in our hearts that I don't think that we've explored before. So it's a lot more intimate and it's a lot more humanizing.
I think a lot of people get into this work because they've also experienced trauma and they want to like help others, but it's more about being in struggle with other people and figuring it out as you go. You can be there to provide tools and skills, but we have to work together and it shouldn't just be like a few people trying to have all the answers and do all the work.
Unintentionally, we fostered like this sort of dependency that the community had upon us, right? And so now we're more decentralized, and so that's what I appreciate about it, because also, you know, the fact is that we're not going to be able to address every issue, and it just seems silly because it's like, we went to go pick up food because we know where there's a lot of food, and we, you know, and we're going to bring it to the community because, well, what the fuck, like, because we know that there's food there and we want to eat. And so, you know, it's about like, now it's more about just being regular, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what everybody should do. Like, you don't need to go to school for this, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could figure it out. Like, I think that activist as a title or even organizer as a title kind of like creates like a hierarchy. It doesn't need a blueprint. It's just like, it's instinctual and we could get it done regardless.
What does burnout feel like?
I think it looks different for everybody. So like, it's a matter of knowing yourself and what your burnout looks like.
Maybe you're in too many group chats. Maybe you're like doing a little too much of whatever it is. Your gas tank is like completely empty. Everyone responds differently to burnout. And so like some people shut down. Some people like just, they become really angry and frustrated.
Burnout feels like I'm trying to like avoid all my problems and I just want to doom scroll and I just want to, you know, just do nothing because all the shit that I'm working hard on, I feel like it's not giving me life. I'm putting my life into it and it's not giving me the life back. That's what burnout feels like to me.
My burnout looks like recurrence of like whatever underlying mental health stuff I've already got going on. Resentment is a big signal that I need to back off. Lack of hope.
How do you avoid it personally?
Well, I want to say not get so involved, but that's impossible if your heart really is in it. I mean, I remember I was sick, had surgery, and I'm still making phone calls. That was a very hard lesson for me because I was so busy taking care of everybody else. I was neglecting Teresa. I was declining, and I know you guys know that because you would fuss like, Teresa, what's going on? Like, dude, come on, get it together. Like, you gotta step back. But I had to wait till I was ready to accept that. A small piece of me felt that if I stepped back and took a minute to take care of me, to refresh and to take a break, that I was disappointing the people that were depending on me. Because if I do this, then I can't get the food or whatever to this family that just lost everything in a fire and they got 3 little kids and they're depending on me. I had to readjust and learn, like, you know what, Teresa? Even if I can't get to them today and I get to them tomorrow, the problem will eventually be solved. And also, I believe that it will help the people that are dependent on you to kind of stretch themselves out to also be a part of the problem solving. So I'm trying to help them help themselves. So that's less of me trying to do it for them. The sooner people realize that, the less burden it is on just a small group of people. And that's truly where the community part comes into play.
In 2020, we started organizing together. It was during the George Floyd protests. There was a lot of us getting together. We were just extremely fucking eager and like full of rage, and we just wanted to organize most of it by ourselves without like seeking help. We just buried ourselves.
It was just like, what's next? What's next? And that's how everybody was. It was just like, how can we make this bigger? Just make it bigger and like, we'll win. If we can storm this building X amount of times, we'll win, we'll win, we'll win. Fake cop cars, we can win, right?
I did get arrested in one of the actions, and it caused like so much hurt in my close pod and community that just rippled out, you know? Like, a lot of people were just really hurt and traumatized from that situation, and did so much for me to get out. So in that, I experienced like, damn, like I fucked up, I hurt a lot of people, and also like, holy shit, this is what community care and radical love is.
And to see people come in and you had gift baskets and people were cooking and had a nice like home cooked meal like when you were coming back. It was that like slice of like, this is how we incorporate the systems we're learning in order to not absolve fully harm, but to mitigate and to try and reduce it as much as we can. And that requires working together. I learned a lot of where it's just like, how can I take this feeling of rage and take it away from like, again, I'm just going to like do this like sudden action that is pleasing me, right? It's making me feel like fulfilled in like my rage, instead of something that is going to be sustainable in the long term. How can I give to my community, build my community up, where we are creating these different spaces in which our rage exists and it is sustainable? What does harm reduction look like in these spaces, right? When we do have people who do need to access that rage. And, you know, maybe that is their front running, you know, like you go over there and learn how to access that rage and learn how to plan around it. And I'll support you in the ways that I can support you. And I learned that I wanted to be a medic. So yeah.
The weight of this work is really heavy. Like, so during the pandemic, like we were raising mutual aid funds to give to folks who need it. We had this Excel sheet where people can like fill it out what their needs are. And people would also DM us and then just reading like all the requests of folks in need and then asking for more money from the public and then doing it. It's not easy.
A lot of that work like will like burn you out, will drain the hell out of you, you know, and like the need is so high and like there's just overwhelming amounts of people being like, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this. And then you realize that after a certain point, like there is no other resource. Those are the really tough times. Those are really tough like conversations. Like those, like what do you do in that case? Like besides, there's only so much you can share one image, and then if this person like still needs all these things, it's really tough because there's also like scammers. There's also like all these different like whether you can question the reality of some of these requests. It's a lot to bear. It's a lot of, and then you kind of have to like realize that like you can't put it on yourself. Like at the end of the day, we're doing what we can, right? And like we're doing our best, you know, and like that's what we can focus on.
I have felt a type of way of being in chronic burnout, being like stuck in survival mode and still trying to exhibit care for people and show up in community as like a caretaker. I think trying to be like honest about what my experience is like and that the reason why I'm in this work is because I need it too is more embodied than I felt in the past. And I do want my community members to know me. I want to be in community with people like me. So it has been part of my practice to be more upfront of, I am struggling with these things and this is what care looks like to me because it's imperative to my survival. And so that's what I'm trying to build for myself, and that's what I'm trying to build for my community and with my community.
Alongside the problem of burnout, we also have to navigate the challenges of conflict, miscommunication, and harm as we organize. How can we use our values to guide us through these waters?
When I first started Arm the Girls, I didn't realize that it was going to be one of my biggest joys, and at the same time, one of my biggest sources of pain. It's okay to acknowledge that this kind of work is really difficult and can lead to a lot of heartbreak, a lot of disappointment. When things go sour between organizers, it can be really difficult to step outside of oneself and really see the other side. And this kind of work doesn't happen overnight. Like, it takes a lot of commitment and dedication to each other, and being able to acknowledge that we are not perfect and everyone is capable of harm. What I'm the Girls did was really special because now we've inspired other groups in the Bay Area to pop out and create something of their own. That's okay if it ends. It's okay for something to have existed in the point of time and it be beautiful for what it was. I think that embracing this growth, this like movement, this evolution is a part of the process. For me, as a brown trans mujer, being able to heal that generational, like that ancestral trauma, that ancestral healing is so important to moving forward. I think that in order for me to be a strong leader, I need to have a balance of emotional, spiritual, and mental health, right? There has to be some sort of active practice of this work being done on all levels. I mean, is that so cliche to say that everyone has to do their part? Because that's literally what it is, right? Everyone has to do their part in the way of self-growth, self-work, self-evolution.
I've come to the understanding that I may never fully heal, and that's fine. Healing is not a linear sort of thing. It's more of a circle. Sometimes I'm doing great and sometimes I'm doing awful. And, the folks around me hold me in my awfulness and in my ugliness. I think some deep healing that's happened is when we've made mistakes along the way and we've been able to admit that mistake. And say, yeah, I fucked up. I wasn't, the best person that I could be. And this is what I'm gonna do to be able to hopefully make sure that this mistake doesn't happen again. You may have the best of intentions, but then the way things happen may cause harm. And so being able to admit that is really important so that you're open to other possibilities and other ways of thinking.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that it could be messy. It could be messy. It could be slow, and it can be. It can still be painful even in these spaces because you expect so much more, I guess. And so just checking that also, that we're only human, and that and to have the trust in each other, or at least to start building the trust that we are trying to do the best. We're trying to show up as best as we can given how we've been influenced. This life will give you a lot of wounds, right? It's set up to keep us in this constant state of pain where you can't imagine anything else, right? And so we kind of replicate that, or we perpetuate that. I think that they want that. Being grounded and rooted, right, is super important because you're more intentional, but also you're not reacting. Not reacting to shit allows you to be able to dream. To be able to dream and co-create, you know what I'm saying? It might be idealistic, right? This thought that, you could change something, and maybe ultimately we can't, but what we do know is that we could create within the midst of all this fucked up shit, is that we could create a little pocket, a little pocket of a world that we would want to see already in this space and with each other.
For generations, so much of this care work, making our spaces safer, caring for each other through crisis, and mediating conflict, has been expected from women and gender nonconforming people. Compared to the visible work of giving speeches or leading actions, this part of organizing has historically been devalued by men. We can't wait until after the revolution to heal ourselves and our relationships, because we won't have a successful revolution without recognizing that labor. To reach the liberated communities we dream of, we all have to contribute to this work.
The number one reason for calls to 911 in most cities in the United States is for disturbance, loudness. And we have voices. They're made to sing, they're made to speak, they're made to yell sometimes. And the fact that folks are calling the police on each other for using our voices, for talking, for playing loud music, I think it's really indicative of just the deep extraction of joy that we've had in our communities. So I really want my abolitionist future to look like joy, happiness, loud music, picnics on the front lawn, kids walking home from school, playing in the park, the water hoses sprinkling in the summertime for free. And I think that is what is gonna look like real safety. And I think that's what is gonna bring real healing. In this joyous world, I know conflict will exist, but even when it exists, it will be met with care, not punitive responses, and definitely not violence.
even the smallest amount or the smallest kinds of mutual aid can help us rewire our brain towards living in a way that is in alignment with our values. It's a practice. It's a lifelong, forever and ever practice. We're constantly bombarded with these like human beings are inherently bad and selfish messages. And that's just not true. And we have to practice and give ourselves the amount of opposite messages or the same frequency of the opposite message, right? And it feels good to be in mutual aid with people. So you get to build relationships, and that is actually healing.
We don't really know everything. That's the beautiful part of all of this, is that all of us are clueless. Why not imagine and act with curiosity, creativity, and great heart, and grow from that place of despair, and not let that despair lead us down a path of individualism or capitalism, but instead let that despair say, this world is not enough. These politicians are not enough. These handouts are not enough. These billionaires are not enough. I believe in our community. I really do. And I think a lot of us believe in our community. And if there are enough of us that believe in our fucking community, and enough of us that don't trust cops, that don't trust these liar-ass politicians, and that see each other as the ones worth investing our time, effort, energy into, then fuck it. Let's build those beautiful futures that we are totally capable of building. And that doesn't look like one project, but many. It looks like healing. It looks like building. Let's build a boat and navigate the waters together. And let's get free. Let's really get free.
They shot you to the tune of 57 fucking times, and I watched the way your mother's hands are raised up in the air the way yours were. Where's the fucking time to spare? They're training overseas so they can beat us in the streets until we yield, until we fall asleep, until our spirits die from grief. But we keep showing them our teeth. Ay, aquí vive Tortuguita, en el pecho y en el alma, en el grito de un sangriento corazón. Ay, aquí sigue Tortuguita, en la tierra y en el aire, en el fuego de un sencillo molotov. Things are not as hopeless as they want us to believe. We hold each other up, we give each other all the power we receive. Vengeance is the love that we will weave. Cause with all the skulls they crush, with all the children that they kill, and the more of us are angry and the more of us are gathering our will, and we're dying on this hill. Ay, así vive Tortuguita, en el pecho y en el alma, en el grito de un sangriento corazón. Ay, aquí vive Tortuguita, en la tierra y en el aire, en el fuego de un sencillo molotov. Thank you.